Okay, so here we go. We're going to go through this part of the video is so that you can take some notes and make sure you learn some of your vocabulary. So we're going to zoom in here on this, and I would recommend that you begin. If you need to, you pause this video, but let's draw this diagram here, okay? And you should have this line that's called line X. You can see it's marked X, and this line that's marked W, line W. And then you have this ray coming out right here, this ray. It's not named, okay? But the result is you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different angles, okay? 5 different angles. It says angle 1 and angle 2 are blank angles. Okay, well, so we have some options here. 1 and 2, they look like they are perpendicular. They are both perpendicular, which is, 90 degrees. That's what they appear to be. But here's what I think. Together, these two form a line. And so in this part right here, I would say they are, oh boy, let's not do that. Sorry about that. Let me undo here. Okay, so what I would do is I would call these two a linear pair, right? And they are supplementary, okay? In other words, they add up to 180 degrees. That's what the word supplementary means. So they are supplementary angles that add up to 180 degrees. Oh boy. We lost the supplementary. Yikes. Okay, let's see if we can bring that back and drop it here. We have supplementary angles. But watch, now I moved it. Okay, I'm doing really bad here. Let's try this one more time. Hope you guys are having a good morning at my expense, or afternoon, whatever time of day it is that you're watching this. Okay, let's try that one more time. So I think that what we're trying to talk about here is that these two together form what we call a linear pair. Okay, they are supplementary angles and a linear pair, meaning they add up to 180 degrees together. If you think about it, they're half of a circle. If I go all the way around a circle, I'll get back here. And this is halfway, so that's 180 degrees. Okay, and that takes care of a couple of these things here. Let me get a different pen here. So we have our supplementary angles done, and we have our linear pair done. Okay, let's look at the next one here. Lines W and X. So W, this one, and X, this one, they appear to be perpendicular. So I'm going to say that the lines are perpendicular. Perpendicular, spelled like that. Okay. Oh gosh. How do I send that backwards, man? Can I send it back? Let's send it back. There we go. Okay. All right. So now we have to figure out angles 4 and 5, angles 1 and 3. Okay. So angles 4 and 5, let's say, angles 4 and 5, they are next to each other, and they have a shared angle. So I think the word I would use here, if they have a shared vertex, and that means that they have a common vertex, a common point, and then they have rays that come off of that point. So if you look at 5, has this initial point, and it goes up, and it goes up. So those are its two sides. And then look at 4, has this initial point, and it goes up, and it goes out. So it has two sides. So if they have the same initial point right here, or what we call vertex, then they are adjacent. actually. All right, yeah, we're going to say they're adjacent. And it's because they have the same common point, but the fact is that they share a side. See how they share a side? Okay, so I would say they are adjacent because they have the same initial point and they have one side that they share. Angle 4 and angle 5 share this side. Okay, and then last, these two together add up to 90 degrees because these two lines are perpendicular. So that makes them complementary. When the two angles together add up to 90 degrees, they are complementary. This is a different spelling from compliment that you give to someone. A compliment that you give to someone, oh boy, let's send that to the back again. Okay, a compliment that you give to somebody is spelled with an I, C-O-M-P-L-I, compliment. But this is not a compliment, this is a complement, which means they together, complements, add up to 90 degrees. Complements, when an angle complements another one, it makes it right. It is a right angle. So two angles that complement each other are two angles that make each other right angles, 90 degrees. Okay, so you can guess what this last one's going to be because we've covered complementary and we've covered adjacent, and now we have to cover verticals. And it says angle 1 and angle 3 are vertical angles. Let me show you why. Angle 3 goes from here to here. It has these sides right here and right here. So it turns out anytime that two lines meet at an intersection, they form vertical pairs. So if you turn this, rotate it on its side, you'd see that it looks like V's, a couple of V's. Here's one V, there's another one. Of course, they're rotated on their sides right now. But V stands for vertical. And vertical angles are congruent. And what that means is they measure the same. So they have the same measure. So we call them congruent when they have all the same measures, but they're in different locations. Okay? So that's our new vocabulary. You have to learn all this stuff. What are supplementary angles? What are a linear pair? When lines are perpendicular, what does it mean? Two angles that are next to each other are called adjacent. Two angles that add up to 90 are called complementary. And two angles that are across from each other are called vertical angles. Okay, now we're going to look at this and make this graphic organizer. Okay, so we're going to find names, 4 names that we can use that are related to how they are positioned and also related to how their measures angle. So here we go. So one is when two angles are next to each other and they form a line, we call those a linear pair. Okay, they form a line. Another one, those linear pairs, when there are two angles that add up to 180 degrees, we call those supplementary. Okay, supplementary. And you know what you should probably do here? You should probably go 180. So you can remember that in your notes, right? If they're supplementary, they add up to 180. Okay? All right, when we have two angles that are across from each other, we call them vertical angles, right? And vertical angles have the same measure, right? So one could write this symbol. Watch this symbol right here. Okay? They have an equal sign, which means it's like they're equal. But they're not exactly equal because they have a different location. So we use this symbol with the little tilde on top, like the Enye symbol, right? That means they are congruent. And congruent means they have the same measure. So they're the same size, right? okay? However you might measure them. Then lastly, what about two angles that are related to each other because they don't add up to 180, but they add up to 90? Well, you might remember me saying just a minute ago, they are complementary, 90 degrees, right? So angles that add up to 190 are complementary angles, okay? So you might pause the video here, put this in your notes. It could be kind of helpful for you as you go forward, okay? Meanwhile, I'm going to work through some of this stuff that's on your page. Now, you might already want to just stop the video here and then see what you can do on your own and then come back and finish the video, okay? Especially if you're getting tired of note taking or watching, but I'm going to run through these so you can see. Okay, name two acute vertical angles. Acute vertical angles. So that would mean that if they are acute, they are less than 90 degrees. So that is a term that we need to know. Acute is smaller than 90. So I can see that these two, FKJ, has the right angle symbol right here. So these two are 90, which means that FKG is less than 90. This angle is less than, let's go with, this angle. This angle is more, right? So this is a 90. The yellow is a 90 right here. It said it was 90. So that means this red is less than 90, which means it is acute. So this one is acute. And a vertical angle to it is across the intersection. So therefore, another vertical angle that is acute is right here. So when it says name them, we have to name these by their letters with the center letter in the middle. So I have EKH, right? And the way we would write that is we would use the symbol for, let me change that color back to a bolder color. Let's go with this one. So we would go with the angle symbol, and then we would write these three letters. Now you can go HKE or EKH, but K has to be in the middle if you're describing this angle. So I'll go EKH. And then I need another angle here, right? That would be this acute one, which is FKG. So I'd say angle F. Sorry, this is really hard. I'm writing this with a mouse because my touch screen broke. I'm going to try to get a new one, FKG. Okay, now they want obtuse vertical angles. Obtuse vertical angles are quite different, right? Obtuse means greater than 90. So I know these two have to be greater than 90. So I would give EKF and HKG, they have to be greater than 90. So I would give those as a pair. A linear pair, that would be two angles that are next to each other. Well, and that form a line. They are adjacent angles that together form a line. So EKH and EKF together form a line. So we call them two adjacent angles whose non-adjacent sides form a line. That's a linear pair. And then two acute adjacent angles, well, that would be FKG and GKJ. They are acute and adjacent. An angle that's a complementary, okay, if it's complementary to EKH, so EKH. Well, EKH measures the same as FKG, and I know oops, that wasn't very good. Let me try undoing that. Here we go. I know that GKH FKJ, if I add this angle to that angle, together they make 90. So since these two are congruent, I would say a complementary angle to EKH is GKJ. And an angle supplementary to FKG is this one. And so supplementary means it makes a 100-degree angle. So I would go FKE. So that would be my angle there. Find the measures of an angle and its complement if one angle measures 24 degrees more than the other. Okay, so this is a little algebra problem here. Let's move this down a little bit. Okay, so if I don't know the measure of one angle that they're talking about here, the easiest thing is for me to just call it X and its complement, right? So let's say Y. I don't know, X and Y, right? So what do we know? We know X and Y are complements, which means if you add them up, they equal 90. Okay? And they also said they're not equal to each other. One is 24 degrees more than the other. So X is not equal to Y because let's say X is the bigger one. So it would only be equal to Y if I added 24 to Y. Okay? Then we have a little algebra we can do here. X and Y are not equal unless I add 24 to Y, right? So what I can do now is I can substitute. Let me show you this. If I know that X is equal to Y plus 24, then I can take that and put it into the equation right here. So I'd write this as Y plus 24 plus Y equals 90. Okay, and then using a little algebra skills, I have 2Y's, so I call that 2Y. Boy, that's ugly. 2Y's plus the 24 equals 90. Well, if I subtract the 24 from both sides, then 2Y equals 66. And then that would mean 1Y if I divide by 2. That 1Y equals 33. And X, now I can go back up here and I could substitute again because we're saying that Y is 33. So I can take that information and plug it into this equation. So I'd say X is equal to, instead of saying Y, I'll go 33 plus 24. So together that equals 57. So it says find the measures of the two angles. So X would be 57. That is the measure of the angle. And 33 is equal to the complement to that angle. Now this one would be done the same way, right? It says the supplement is 36 less than the measure of an angle. So the idea is you would use X and Y for the angle and for the supplement. So X plus Y equals 180, but one is 36 less than the other. So you would have to say to make them equal, X is equal to Y plus the 36. And then you could take that information and sub it back in and work through that problem. I'm not going to do that for you because it is already very similar to what we just did. We have a few more problems I want to work through here. Okay, we have if the measure of angle RTS equals X, 8X plus 18, find the value of X. So that RT or TR is perpendicular to TS. So in other words, what would this X have to be in order for this to be a 90-degree angle? Well, we got to solve for 90 then. All they're really saying is take this value, assign it to this angle, and then tell us what would we put in for x so that this could be equal to 90. So in other words, 8x plus 18 equals 90. Now I'm not going to do this for you. I think you should have some algebra skills at this point to subtract 18 from both sides and then divide by 8. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you could try using graspable math for some help or use the solve command. But you're solving for x is all you're doing here. And this is geometry class, not algebra, so I just have you practice that. You should be able to do that. All right, next it says if the measure of angle PTQ is equal to 3y minus 10, so this is 3y minus 10, and then QTR equals y, then you have to have 3y minus 10 plus y equals 90. And then again, you have another problem like that. 3y minus 10 plus y equals 90. Sorry, guys. But basically, this is just another algebra problem for you. Both of those are. Then lastly, we're going to take a look at this. WZU. Can we assume from the figure that this is a right angle? And the answer is yes. And I'll show you why. If you look here, okay, you have this little symbol here, which means a right angle. Means it's a right angle. So we can assume that it's a right angle. Now it says, what about YZU? So Y, let me mark this with another color here. So YZU, that's that angle, and UVZ, are they supplementary? So here is UVZ, it's this angle, UVZ. So is this orange one and this purple one supplementary? The answer is yes, because they are a linear pair. They are adjacent to each other, they have a shared side, and their non-adjacent sides, right, ZY and ZV, form a straight line. Next, it says angle VZU is adjacent to YZX, and the answer is no on that. They have no shared sides, so they are not adjacent. Okay, there is your work, and once you've gone through this, you have your notes ready, you can do the work that's on the back, and have a great day.